Welcome to The Conversation. I'm Joe Lee. There are approximately 6,000 babies born with Down syndrome each year in the United States, according to figures from the Centers for Disease Control. That's 1 in every 700 born. There are undoubtedly questions and concerns from parents who wonder how this will impact the lived family experience. In her new book, The Upside of Downs, Central New Yorker Lisa Palmero-Matto takes us on a journey full of adventure and funny stories about her daughter Marley, who was born with Down syndrome, and the joy and wonder that Marley brings to those around her. And she shares it with us now on The Conversation. Lisa, welcome to The Conversation.
Oh, so happy to be here, Joe. Thank you.
Tell me about the day that Marley was born.
It was a long day. I had contractions, and finally we went to the hospital. You know, everything was going well, and had a few things happen, but she finally came out and was the first granddaughter for my parents, my side. So my parents were elated, and my mother-in-law was there, and she was elated, and Dave went out in the hallway. They were, hugging.
What time of year was this?
This was November.
Okay, so
early November.
And just a normal day, were you expecting soon for this to occur, or did it take you by surprise?
I was a week early, but I had also been with my son, so It was not a surprise at all.
Okay.
We went in, and of course it was snowing when we went, November 6th. And so we had about 10 minutes of just jubilation, and then the doctor came in and said to Dave, I think your daughter has Down syndrome.
Yeah.
And we didn't know. We had sonograms, everything. We were told everything was great. So Dave, looked at it and he said, "You're joking, Doc." And, we just were shocked.
Mm-hmm.
And Dave went into the hallway and told his mom and my mom and dad. And, there was a lot of sadness. It was like the joy just evaporated.
Yeah, you mentioned that in the book that it seeped from the delivery room out into the hallway, and you could kind of feel the mood and energy change. What had you known about Down syndrome prior to your daughter being born with it?
Not much, because obviously when we grew up, Joe, there wasn't inclusion in the schools. I went to a Catholic school. There was, nobody with any needs there. So I really did not have any awareness. But the funny thing I will tell you is I did ask the doctor at one of the sonograms, how's the neck? And I don't know why I asked that. And Marley's neck is fine. And she's like, it's perfect. It's like a ballerina. So I said, So
why did you ask that question?
I don't know. To this day, I can't tell you why.
Okay. So tell me about Marley.
Uh-huh. So Marley is, she really is just a wonderful young woman. She's 20. When she was born, people said, they're such happy children. And I want to say that's a crock of you-know-what, because Marley is really her own person. You don't mess with Marley. She'll let you have it. But she's very smart, and she's determined. And, her capabilities, she works so hard. And she just got contacts last week. I mean, it took Casey 3 months to, he'd be in the bathroom for an hour. She literally pops them in 2 tries.
So you're in the hospital. You learn that Marley is born with Down syndrome. You talk about the sort of sadness that hits the room. You also write that your dad took it harder than just about everybody else.
Yeah, it makes me tear up to this day to think that, my dad, the big strong guy.
And why do you think that? Why do you think that was? Certain expectations about what they wanted for their grandchildren. Why do you think it hit him so hard?
I think it hit him so hard because he didn't realize the kind of life Marley could have, and so I think he felt so sorry for her and so sorry for Dave and I, thinking that what we all thought, these kids, when we went to school, when you were in a public school, kids with special needs were kind of downstairs in a room, and you didn't see them. So, and that's what he had in his head.
Okay. You mentioned Dad feeling sorry for you. And you write about the day you got home from the hospital and all the cards and congratulatory cards and all that, that you actually had received a sympathy card.
I know.
So what was going through your mind when you opened that?
Shock, sadness, and disbelief that somebody would send that. And we just, we threw it out and went on. But if I look back now, and I think, where I work, sometimes you deal with sadness and people don't know how to respond. And sometimes people respond in really strange or wrong ways. And I think that's what happened.
Now, you mentioned that, the moment you found out that you didn't know much about Down syndrome before then, what sort of went through your mind once you heard that news about Marley, about your family, about what your life would be, how it would impact you guys? There must have been a million things swirling around in your head. What was going on?
To be honest, Joe, I know a lot of people would get right on and Google, and I didn't do that. I looked at her and I thought, this kid really doesn't look much different than any other baby. And we really just brought her home. And although we felt the sadness still carried some shock with us from it, we just went on about the business of having a new baby in the house. And, I put in there how one, chapter of the Down Syndrome Society had reached out and the woman was so negative. And then that really set me off to say, yeah, I think we're just
How so?
She had asked about Marley's health. And I said, well, she's healthy. And she said, well, she's healthy now.
Oh, wow.
I thought, well. And, the conversation went on like that. And when I got off the phone, I just thought, well, we're just gonna do this. We're gonna, get the help we need. But
you write just so tenderly about that moment where everyone else has left the hospital. It's just you and Marley. You went against hospital rules and picked her up and held her. What were you thinking at that time?
When she wouldn't stop crying, so checked. She needed to eat. She needed something. Diaper change, nothing. And the minute I picked her up and put her next to me in the bed, she just stopped crying and was snuggling. And I thought, she's mine.
So you wrote the book, the Upside of Downs. Why? What was the inspiration for writing it?
Well, I wrote the book because so many of my family members and friends, when I would recount to them the situations that Marley seemed to get herself and us into, which a lot are very funny, but at the time, it was very nerve-wracking. It wasn't funny at the time. Everyone said, you need to write this down and you need to write a book. So I just started to collect the stories and started to put it together.
And you got some skill, too. You can write. You can put pen to paper. What is the upside of Downs? What do you see as the upside?
The upside is really the abilities that she has. People want to say people with disabilities, but Marley has abilities that a lot of us don't have. She has a keen sense of reading people, and she has a grace about her. And I even say that a lot of times it looks like she's being naughty, but there's more to it. And when you look back on it, you say, "Oh, wow! She really had an idea in her head and knew what she was doing."
You paint a picture of a child with a ton of personality.
Yeah.
The Marley. Tell us about the Marley, which I just found hilarious.
So the Marley is that was her gesture, her finger gesture, to let people know when she was not happy with them. And, all the boys, we have a lot of boys in our neighborhood, and they would be out playing football. And, a lot of times they would let Marley join in, but this one time they didn't give her the ball. And she just, got in the middle of them, and instead of raising the middle finger, she raised her index finger. It was such gesture. She just would put it out there and put that finger in her stance and her face, and she let them know what she was thinking. Might have been the wrong finger, but
Gee, I wonder where she got that from.
I don't know.
You got a lot of funny stories in here. She hacked her grandparents' Amazon Kindle and ordered some bed sheets and comforters.
And my parents, are first generation Italian, Joe. So they've never ordered anything online or had UPS come to their house. So she had been there. And my mother let her have the Kindle. And probably 5 days later, UPS shows up and it's Big Time Rush was the Disney show that was on. So my father's looking at this and there's Willy Wonka gum and a comforter and sheets and he gets on the line with Amazon. I mean, I think to this day he is forbidden from ordering from Amazon because they wouldn't take it back, and he let him have it. And so that was very funny.
And she also hacked into, well, you don't really have to hack in, but she got into a neighbor's telephone, cell phone, when he walked away from it and took a few dozen selfies of herself with his cell phone.
So funny. And some with the Marley in it, too. Yeah. So he's going to show a business associate pictures of his family, and then there's like 50 of Marley on there.
When did, or was there a moment when you moved from, and I don't know if you describe in the book sort of feeling sorry. I know you describe being concerned. But when do you think it was in Marley's life that you began to shift to sort of celebrate her being?
And that's a great question, Joe, because I don't think I realized it until I wrote this book and did the readbacks and noticed the change in me. Because we always were nervous what Marley was going to do, and I'm not so sure we felt sorry, like you said. I just think that we were concerned and, just always worried about the next thing she was going to do to cause a problem. And I think that it was really in that fourth grade moment I talk about where she steals the show. And that's when I began to change, when I began to say, you know what, I'm not going to sit here and worry about being embarrassed or feel shameful if Marley does something.
Right.
And the fourth grade, that fourth grade show that, we all sit through those elementary shows. And she really was not only hilarious, but she did just the most generous act to another student with a disability.
Right.
And it was beautiful. And I think that's when I began to say, my daughter is really special.
Right. I mean, it's almost like looking at it and saying, she's not the problem, we're not the problem, society's the problem.
Yes. Right.
People are going to do things whether you have Down syndrome or not. Kids are going to poop in the pool.
Yeah.
Right. So it really is, and you described that moment in Florida.
Oh yeah.
Where she did that, and it wasn't because she had Down syndrome. She was taking some medication that you think helped spur that on, but you just have to accept life as it is and not worry about the way people are going to react.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And you came to that realization, and what did that do for you emotionally?
It's freeing. It really is freeing. And it with age comes wisdom. I think that's with all of us. It takes, the ego has to decrease in order for you to gain some wisdom. And it just felt so great to know that this is who Marley is. So she might do something, and it's not the end of the world.
Right. Yeah. If she runs naked in the compound down in Florida, as you described in the book, she escaped. So she escaped the house, locked door. She found a way to unlock the door and went out for a stroll with no clothes on.
Yes.
And at that time, you were probably, still concerned about what people thought?
Yes. Probably at that age, but we were just, I didn't know where she was. At least if it was in my, I talk about our neighborhood a lot.
Right.
Right. And somebody would have told me and found her and brought her home, but I'm thinking, oh my gosh.
A stranger found
her and thought I was the most horrendous mother.
What did you think of yourself as a mother at that time?
I just thought I needed to get her in the house before my father and mother came home because they would have killed me.
Again, she has a ton of personality. 20 years old. What does it mean her and for you and your husband going forward? Will she have an ability to live on her own, or will she always be with you guys?
I think, well, she doesn't want to be with us.
Okay.
So I think that she's going to Inclusive U at Syracuse and will live in the dorms.
Okay.
So she'll have that experience for 4 years. And I think that they do a really great job afterward of helping to find their students a place to live, whether it's with other people and employment. So I don't see it. Marley does not want to live with us. We certainly would have her.
Right.
But I don't think that that would be healthy or what she wanted.
Right. Again, bright young woman. I should say, full disclosure, we're neighbors.
Yeah.
I've encountered Marley in the neighborhood. She is spunky and beautiful young woman. And, I'm glad you were able to come out and talk to us about this wonderful book. What is it that you want folks to take away from it? And I noticed that there is a to be continued at the end. Will you continue? And what do you want folks to take away?
What I want folks to take away is not just...
Let me rephrase that question.
Okay.
No, make it a two-part question.
You got it.
What do you want folks who don't have children with Down syndrome to take away? And what do you want folks who do have children to take away?
Very nice. I think that the takeaway for people who don't have a child with Down syndrome or disability is the ability not just of Marley, but of the people in our community. Because no one has ever treated Marley different. And whether it's the neighborhood, whether it's been the school, community, Marley has been embraced like any other kid. She gets in trouble like any other kid. She has expectations. And I think that really is the beautiful part of this story. It's the abilities that Marley has, and that may be to show for people who do have a child with Down syndrome, especially if it's a baby. Don't believe everything you read or listen to negativity. Certainly there is a wonderful outlook. But it's the ability, I think, of people to be able to not discriminate against someone because they're different in any way. And it really, we were just very fortunate where we lived.
And what do you want, what do you have to say to folks that have a story to tell, any story to tell, and want to get it published? I mean, this is a pretty cool feat. I mean, not everybody has published work, and you're now a published author. And what's the takeaway there?
I think I've always wanted to write. I was an English major, and I think it took something that was really out of love and a passion for it to happen. But if you do it, I mean, it took me 6 years of putting these stories together. And once COVID hit and I had some time, I was able to get it together. And it took a long time. I probably edited and rewrote probably 30 times once I thought it was finished. And then I did hire an editor. And I did hire an illustrator who actually is from our neighborhood too, which is really neat because Brooke saw Marley grow up, and she really, I don't know if I could have done it. You can do it on Amazon, but to do it with illustrations, it would have been a process. And she's a graphic artist, so she just was able to do that. The stars aligned for me, but I really think it's with anything that you do, it's out of a passion and a love.
It's a wonderful read. It is The Upside of Downs, Lisa Palmero Motto, with illustrations by Brooke Stratton. And we wish you the best of luck with it.
Thanks so much, Joe. I so appreciate you having me.
The Upside of Downs is a whimsical collection of adventures and stories about Marley and her family, and a life lesson for us all, that when you choose to worry less and celebrate life, you open yourself up to opportunities to build loving, lasting memories. A link to the book is available on the show page at WAER.